Hey guys, so it's Friday, 1:50 p.m. I'm here at Mercado La Strada. I hope I got that right. I don't get out a lot, so I used to like working at the cafe that's a floor down. So anyway, in today's video, what I want to try to do is walk you through as much as I possibly can as far as what are the things that I've learned and observed that have helped me to truly have productive days. I want to preface this video by saying that me as a person, I'm someone that I've been insanely, I don't even want to say insanely productive. I'll say I've just been insane since about 2011. I've been extremely focused on becoming a better person, achieving goals. I feel like I have something in me that most people don't have, but I also feel like a lot of people watching this video feel that same thing. And I don't know, if you guys can connect with that, I think you guys are really gonna enjoy this video. So these are my observations over the last many years, over 8 years of being a complete lunatic focused on trying to extract from myself something that I can use to benefit the greater world around me. So here it goes. Everything starts with energy. So if I have good energy, if I sleep well, the day becomes so much easier. I feel much more motivated to do things. When I have low energy, if I didn't get good sleep, or if I'm particularly stressed out, it becomes extremely hard to do things. There is a little nuance there, and I've been talking about this a bunch in previous videos, which is that you're never gonna have, I don't think it's possible to have even, I think about half of your days are gonna be really good and half of your days are just not gonna be really good. I don't know, I could be wrong. Maybe there are people that, I know that I had years where I had, every day seemed to be an incredibly productive day, especially right after my epiphany moment in 2011. But recently, I've had to deal with burnout. It's not always going to be sunshine and roses. And so, as much as energy is important, I think it's also extremely important. It's been extremely important for me to develop the ability to do things, even if and especially when I don't feel like doing them. That has been the biggest transformation that I've had as far as being able to be productive over the last couple of years. Because what I've learned about motivation specifically, a lot of people ask me how to get motivated for things. And motivation is not something, you have to be very careful with internal and external motivation. For a while, I got sucked into external motivation, meaning that to start to do anything, I needed to be motivated by watching a YouTube video or motivated by just something or reading a book and that's okay, I guess, to kickstart things, but you need to develop an internal sense of motivation, and that only comes from taking action, as far as I can tell. And so it's not that you need motivation to do things, it's that you need to actually take action, and then from that you can extract motivation, and that's how you keep the ball moving forward. For me, to have extremely productive days, everything starts the day before, right? I want to make sure that I get really good sleep, and so that means that for me, I need to turn off all the lights at around 8 or 9 p.m. I like to go to bed at about 10 p.m. I drink a chamomile tea before I go to sleep. My actual nighttime routine does change from week to week, but generally speaking, I need some sort of, I have some sort of system or structure that I follow, things that I do. And right now the things that I do are I turn off all the lights at about 8 p.m. or at least I put on blue blocking glasses so I'm not taking in white light. I don't actually know what it's called, but I'm not taking in the sort of light that prevents my body from producing melatonin, which is what helps us to get to sleep. And I try to focus on things. If I'm gonna be doing work, that's when I'll tend to respond to YouTube comments. That's when I will, almost always the hour before bed, I like to read a book in total darkness. I'll put on a little book light, I'll wear my blue blocking sunglasses, and I'll read a book and I'll stretch. I do like static stretching an hour before I go to bed, and that's kind of my routine right now. But the important thing is to have some sort of routine and to follow it so that the next day you wake up, you feel refreshed and you have energy, ideally. When I wake up, I have my morning routine, which right now is I go to the kitchen, I make myself a decaf coffee. I'm trying to reduce the amount of caffeine that I'm taking. In the past, I used to just like drinking regular coffee. Right now I make a decaf coffee and I put in a little matcha green tea. It's a bulletproof coffee, meaning that I also like to add in some fats. So I add in MCT oil, ghee. I like to meditate in the morning. I always make my bed. I think making my bed, I know that making my bed is a metaphor for everything else. It's important to start my day by taking something that is not in order and putting it into order. And that's what I'm doing when I make my bed. I take a cold shower. I do that every day. There's something about the cold water that I identify with. It feels like I'm at home in that cold water. But that's my morning routine. But I think it's important. I think that we are creatures of habit, and it's important to if you're trying to have a productive day, that you need to have at least some sort of routine. Here's another very specific nuance that I want to mention is you have to be very careful. I think you have to be very careful to not set a set schedule. So one of the biggest mistakes that I've made in the past is saying that, okay, at 8 a.m. I'm going to do this, 9 a.m. I'm going to do this, 10 a.m. I'm going to do this. You'll notice if you guys have downloaded that dark mode PDF that I'm very careful to say that if you're setting a schedule, you need to be flexible. So I have roughly a sequence that I follow as far as my day goes, meaning that I when I go to sleep, I do my night ritual. When I wake up, my morning ritual. I tend to focus more on Nelson Quest creative type stuff in the morning when I'm more creative. I tend to focus on work type stuff throughout the middle of the day, and then towards the very end of the day, I return back to the creative stuff. I have a structure, but whenever I've tried to set, like, say, okay, 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., I'm going to do this, this, and this, that never works, and you're setting yourself up for failure because 8:05 rolls around and you're running late for something, or all of a sudden things are always going to happen that you can't predict and that are going to throw you off of your schedule. And so you need to be flexible. One of the greatest things I've learned from studying Taoism is to move with the river. And that's a big part of having a productive day for me, is to make sure that my actions are, that I'm living in a way that is consistent with my essence and my actions. And so even when I'm doing stuff that I don't want to do, this is kind of like cheating, but I like the fact that I'm able to do stuff that I don't like doing, and so that in that way I'm able to do the stuff that I don't like doing. And eventually you do that enough and you'll start to actually love the stuff that you don't love to do when you see that it's bringing you towards this version of yourself that you desire to be. And you'll get a lot closer to the person that you aspire to be if you are continually productive. It's when you are stagnating, it's when you stop being productive that you start to feel like you're either not making progress towards the person you want to be, or even a worst case scenario, like if you go out and you get drunk and you eat a bunch of crap, you feel like, the next day you wake up, you feel like you've actually taken a few steps back from the person that you want to be. And it's important to be extremely observant of all this stuff. For me, again, being productive is about constantly observing, and that's where meditation is so important for me. I talk about this in videos so much, but man, if I don't meditate for a few days, I really start to notice it. And I'm at that point. I think a lot of people are intimidated by meditation. I think a lot of people are, I know that I used to be intimidated by meditation. I used to have a very specific goal with meditation, which I do have my goal with meditation is to simply observe my thoughts as they pass by me. So basically to detach myself from myself, observe thoughts as they pass by me, and once in a while, if a thought passes by and it seems like it's worth engaging with, I'll jump into that thought and I'll engage with it. And by doing so in a more meditative state where I'm relaxed, where I'm focused, where I'm really able to focus and zero in on something, that's where it makes sense to jump in on a thought. But generally speaking, throughout the day, I'm always trying to focus. I think we live at a time where to really be productive, it's harder than ever to focus. And I think this is something that we talk about, but we don't talk about it enough because I don't think as a culture we've realized just how hard it is to focus these days, because it's the shift from like internet didn't happen that long ago. I remember a time where I didn't have a cell phone that I could go into, and I didn't even have a cell phone. Internet didn't exist for all intents and purposes. This is not that long ago. And so as a society, as a culture, everything is competing for our attention, and all of the things around us, Facebook, Instagram, just constant notifications on your phone, it's extremely difficult to focus, and it's multiplying. The amount and frequency of things that are trying to distract us and remove our ability to focus. And they're doing this, like these companies are doing this in a way that, again, we haven't even become conscious of. So if you just right now stop watching this, pause this video for a second, just consider, you've probably even been distracted a number of times as you watch this video, right? Maybe you got your phone buzzed, or even if it didn't buzz, you're thinking about your phone, or you're thinking about checking something, or it's harder than ever to focus. And so to be productive, you have to be able to focus. That's why, that's a big part of the reason that I do Pomodoros, right? So I basically will focus on a specific task for 40 minutes, and then I'll take a 5-minute break. And there's a couple of things that are happening there. One is when I focus on a specific task, again, I'm training myself to be able to focus. So when I focus on that specific task, I'm not doing anything else. I'm not responding to messages on Slack or Skype. I'm not checking email. I'm certainly not looking at my phone. I don't use Facebook, and even Instagram I just uninstall, and I leave uninstalled until I have something I really want to post, and then I'll reinstall it. But you almost have to, if you're trying to be productive, you have to remove distractions, and you have to develop the ability to focus, which the greater society and culture around you is trying to remove from you. Society doesn't want you to focus. And when I say society, I'm not talking about like a shadow organization. I'm just saying that this is kind of the natural evolution of things, and these are simply my observations. You have to be able to focus. So when I do a Pomodoro, again, it's 40 minutes of extremely focused effort on a singular task. Ideally, again, this is when I have my most productive days. This is what I'm doing. If I'm not productive, it's because I'm screwing up with this stuff. 40 minutes on a specific task, and then I take a 5-minute break or a 15-minute break. And then during that break, I'm trying to disconnect as much as possible. Maybe I'll go and I'll do some stretching. Maybe I'll throw the dumbbell around a little bit. But it's basically, it's like an ebb and a flow. It's a constant ebb and flow. And this is something that you'll find over time. You'll be able to observe this ebb and flow repeat itself everywhere in your life. With salsa, right? When that song is on, I'm trying to be engaged. I'm trying to express. I'm trying to express myself and give my all, but in a way where I'm not thinking. I'm simply being, right? And then when the song ends, I'm relaxing. I'm reflecting. I'm off. In the gym, if I'm lifting weight, I'm giving my all, right? And then when I'm resting, I'm catching my breath. I'm off. And if you start to observe, you'll start to see ebb and flow as something that's really important to understand as you move through life, and if you're really trying to achieve a lot. I want to come back now to the theme of the river, right? Moving with yourself. Recently, I start to get tired at about 1 or 2 p.m. So lately, what I'll do is I'll take a nap, right? If I'm feeling exhausted, what I used to do when I was younger is I would just drink more coffee, or I didn't used to really get tired when I was younger, but I definitely abused stimulants a lot in my time. I've abused Adderall, coffee. Anyway, these days, if I feel tired, I take a nap, right? I think there's a famous Buddhist saying, which is, if you're hungry, eat. If you're tired, sleep. And if you're thirsty, drink. There is incredible profoundness within simplicity, especially right now. When I have my most productive days are really very simple days, right? What I used to try to do when I was not being productive is I used to try to think my way out of things, or I went online, especially now, again, things are happening so fast, right? 20 years ago, if I wanted to read about something educational, I had to go to a library, or I had to pop in, most of you guys won't know what this is, but Microsoft Encarta, which was like the first like CD encyclopedia. Anyway, things are happening so fast, and so now we're drawn to, we try to overcomplicate things, and we do that because we think that's the way. We have to think our way out of things. And my most productive days are very simple, right? I focus on my Nelson Quest creative stuff in the morning, work stuff midday, Nelson Quest stuff in the afternoon. Again, if I'm hungry, I eat. If I'm tired, I sleep. I try not to abuse stimulants or take shortcuts. Really simple, right? I have a nighttime routine, a morning routine. Like, this is actually all pretty simple stuff. That it's when I start to overcomplicate this stuff is when I start to run into problems. I've been talking a lot, so I think I'll end this video here. But those are some of my observations as far as, these are some of the best observations that I can share as far as what helps me to have a productive day. If you're wondering why I'm sitting here with a mojito, I spent the last few months really just trying to find the way to continue to work without stopping. I try to find that balance, right? Because I think that I can work, if I am working in a way that is not taxing me, I think that I can work entire days. Right? If I feel like my work is invigorating me, if I feel like it's not just sucking me dry, if I feel like it's creating motivation, right? If I'm extracting motivation from action, then I can continue to take more action and more action and more action. And but I realize now that I'm starting to feel really lonely on weekends and at night, and so yeah, I'm trying to be a little bit more social. So I came here with a team to have a cocktail midday, talk about Nelson Quest. And I think I'm at a point again where I'm going to try to be more social. And if I suddenly get to a point where I feel like I need to focus more on work and stop being social, I'll do that. I'm trying to just move with my essence, with who I am as a person. It's sometimes hard to know who you are as a person, and I'm doing my best. So anyway, I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next clip. That's just... All right, guys, I'm gonna eat some delicious bone broth and then take a nap. Try to keep being productive. All right, guys, so I'm gonna have some dinner. It's actually a little after 6, which is after my normal dinner time. But I wanted to give you guys a quick summary of the speech that I gave earlier today. So, and I want to try to keep this really simple, because I think one of the big problems that I've observed is that we tend to overcomplicate things. And so let's just keep this really simple. I think to have an extremely productive day, one, you need to have energy. So that means going to sleep early, getting physical exercise, ideally waking up early. Two, you need to do things. You need to do a lot of things. So for me, that means not consuming content or not consuming knowledge, especially when I don't need it, right? I think it's very easy to justify very easy to justify reading books or watching YouTube educational content or something. It's very easy to justify this stuff when the reality is that we need to be doing more than anything. Theory does not have any value unless you apply it. Third thing is just motivation comes from action, at least the good sort of motivation, internal motivation. External motivation, for the most part, is something that you can use. You can use it like kindling to start a fire, but it's something that I think you want to try to avoid as much as possible. You certainly don't want to become dependent on it. Obviously, I think it makes sense that the more you can generate motivation internally, the more likely you are to be productive. If you're relying on external motivation, it's kind of like a drug. It actually is very much like a drug. You'll build a resistance, a tolerance to it over time, and it doesn't do many good things for you over the long haul, although you may see some immediate benefits in the short term. Anyway, you can use it to jumpstart the fire, but just don't become too dependent on it. I think we're on the fourth thing. Anyway, you should have some sort of structure to your day. I think we are creatures of habit, creatures of routine. I don't know how it would be possible to improve on a consistent basis without having some sort of formalized approach to that. So I don't mean having a schedule where you wake up at exactly this time and at exactly this time you drink your coffee, and you need some flexibility. And the reality is that there's so much that we can't control, and every week things are going to happen that you just can't control, and I think you have to learn how to roll with those punches. You have to learn how to move with the river. And that's another thing too, is learning how to work with your essence. If you want to be productive, you have to find ways to do the things that you need to do. Sometimes you're going to have to do things that you don't necessarily like to do. You can find a way to enjoy doing the things that you don't like to do if you understand the importance and how they work in the greater scheme of things. I'll also add that just like light doesn't exist without darkness, like we need bad days to understand what a good day is. If we just had only good days, only productive days, we wouldn't call them good or productive. They would simply be days. The reason we have good days and bad days is because they're necessary for us to understand the differences between the two. And so, yeah, be conscious, be an observer. Observe why your bad days are bad. Observe why your good, productive days are good and productive, and try to do more of this stuff and less of this stuff. And then the last thing I'll say is just don't think too much. Try to think less. Try to observe more, and try to really do more. We're now in an age where it's so hard to focus. The ability to focus is literally, it's not even that we've lost it. It has been stripped from us by all of the applications and things that are clamoring for our attention. And focus, think less, do more. Theory is nothing without the application of theory. And it's through the application that you'll actually learn the true way of things by doing. So I hope that's helpful. I'm going to finish this food. And I'm having a very productive day, so I'd like to finish it off that way. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give it a like. If you have any comments, questions, please leave them in the comments below. I have responded to every single comment on the channel so far. If you guys want to download that dark mode PDF, please check the description for the link for that. Again, dark mode is an entire system of accomplishing goals, and I've got an entire PDF built out for how to do that, how I do that. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Ciao.